Hello kings, queens, and majesties, welcome to WhaleStat. I am Slice of Otaku, and we are now officially one day away from the release of my most anticipated 5-star character, Arataki Itto himself. And since his announcement, which was about 2 months ago, I have been preparing for his release. In every way possible, I have been gearing up to make this guy the strongest character I possibly can. In the absence of a Geo Archon, I feel it is time for a new beast to rise, and there is no one better than Itto. With this video, I want to update you guys on our progression so you know how far we have gone with our preparations here. And tomorrow's going to be the big day. It's going to be the rolling day where hopefully I manage to get the better side of the 50-50 each and every time it comes about, because we will be getting Itto to Constellation 6. I am still debating on his weapon if I do want his weapon to be Refinement 5. I don't really like refining weapons, at least 5-star weapons. I don't really care for it. I feel like it's a little bit extra, but at the same time, we are being very extra with this character to begin with, making him C6, wanting him to be the strongest possible. And that weapon looks pretty good, not just on him, but Noelle and a slew of other characters as well, even Xinyan. I have never purposefully gone for refinements on a weapon, but I don't know, this one might be tempting. But even without it, we already look pretty damn incredible. So in regards to resources, when it comes to talent books, we have a surplus. We have enough to get Itto up to level 90, and I want to bring Goro up to level 70. I feel that's all I really need with a support. He doesn't really need to deal much damage because Itto is going to be carrying here. So 70 is good enough for me. We definitely have enough for that. Now my albedo is fully ascended, so if we really wanted to bring him up to level 90, we could, but I don't really think it's all too necessary, to be completely honest with you. I'm not sure what I really want to use with these talent books. I'm not sure if I want to use them all now, or if I want to wait for the next characters to come into the fray, such as Shenhe. Now it did take quite a lot to procure this much, however I did actually end up using a bit on Ningguang. So throughout my journey getting Itto up, I've been dabbling into other Geo characters that I really haven't messed with all too much. Like just before Itto even was announced, I finally got my Noelle into a strong place, which was what really made me want Itto that much more, because they kind of have a lot of similarities between the two of them. Not all too much in the sense that they would invalidate Itto, but they're generally going to want the same things in terms of artifacts and in weapons. But Ningguang was a happy surprise for me. Now I've heard little dabblings about this character, but even still I feel like she is criminally underrated. This is a character that I had a load of fun with, and she was only level 60 for the most part of that fun. So I may very well get her up to level 80 or so, but I won't really think about all of that until after I have Itto where he needs to be. Right now, all of my resources, all of my Mora is being poured into this character. And if you take a look over to our Mora, we do have just below 15 mil. Now I spent a whole lot of this. I had like 18 mil at max. I spent a whole lot of this on artifacts and bringing Ningguang up and such, but this should still cover us for the bulk of the things we're going to need. Like we got a surplus because we knew we would be getting these artifacts up, that we would be grinding these artifacts to level 20 and such, tinkering, seeing what gets the actual good stat rolls and such, and we'll get into artifacts in just a bit. But looking over the rest of our resources here, we have our slime essences. I really did not need to look for more of these. I've just had these sitting in the pile, and thankfully Itto isn't too demanding in the sense of what he needs from the little minion materials. So we're great on that front. When it came to beating down the Geo puppy, I waited till pretty much the last minute to start doing this. I was mostly going for the artifact hunting for the vast majority of my time here. The moment that it came and released, I was just going ham. Every single day, pretty much all of my resin was used on these domains. But we did actually manage to get exactly the amount of horns we needed, and that's great. And in fighting that many wolves, we got a bunch of gems, a bunch of topaz to end up using on Itto. We have more than enough and no problems there. Talent books. Now this was grueling. I really do not like farming for talents. I do think that I prefer to go for artifacts, even though the RNG is there and it's kind of tedious. At the very least, I feel like I'm progressing in some way because I can feed them into my actual good artifacts. Here with talent books, it's just annoying, but we managed to get a whole lot. I ended up actually converting a bunch from the bundle that you can purchase to get like an extra 100 of these things. And this should definitely be enough to make us be able to have our fully crowned ITTO, triple crowned here. And as you can see, I have more than enough crowns. I've never actually crowned a character, so this is going to be a very major event for me. And then from there, another very daunting thing for me. I hate collecting these exploration resources here, but we finally got exactly the amount of beetles that we needed. Nothing more, nothing less. And I know when I was preparing, when I was thinking to do all of this, I was like, let me just get it out of the way as quickly as possible, but I definitely did no such thing. I waited until the last minute to really pull through and get that remaining 68 or so. Getting a character up to level 90 is a very tedious task, but thankfully we will be able to get him up to level 90 without even thinking about it. We can just keep clicking that button and mash it. Now, in regards to ITTO's weapon, his banner weapon is going to be the Red Horn Stone Thresher. And we are prepared for this because we have all of the Ascension gems that we're going to need to get this thing up to level 90. It is very important that we have our weapons, our signature weapons, be at max level. That's even more important than having ITTO at level 90, to be completely honest with you. And I had to really hold myself back from using these on other weapons that I have. Again, these entire 2 months I have pretty much restrain myself from raising up anyone besides ITTO and Goro, the characters I intend to have up in their levels and such. I don't always have the time to collect these resources, so this is definitely an accomplishment to have enough ready to go right off the bat. We're of course going to get a bunch from the weapon banner and from the character banner that is going to offset our experience here, so we're not going to have to funnel all of this perhaps, but we are padded and we are ready. As for the weapon ascension materials, we have plenty of handguards. We have so many because we have just been spamming those ley lines. Before the domain dropped, the first 20 days or so before they dropped, I was going crazy on these ley lines, collecting all our Mora, collecting all our experience books, and now we have a surplus. We have more than enough of these things. We are going to have enough of these things for plenty of weapons, honestly. So please, MiHoYo, give us more to use these things on. In terms of the Rift Puppy Claws, I was going after these things, I was hunting them down, and I definitely got enough that will be able to bring us up to level 90 as well, followed by the most important ascension material, which we needed to farm domains for. Again, I don't really like farming these things, so I just got enough, and this is more than we'll need in certain regards, but not having to worry about his weapon as well is going to be great because we're also going to be throwing this thing on Noelle. I am not going to abandon Noelle. She is like the queen at this point. I love that character. She's the messiah, and ITTO is the god at the end of the day. Now, if you're wondering about my fragile resin, we did use quite a lot. I think I used around like 25 of these things, but we were able to get some backup with the battle pass and the in-game shop and such, so it's not all too bad. We do still have 49 of these things, so we're not going to be completely out of luck if something cool comes down the road that we really want to have and build up. We are still future-proofed. Now for his boss talent ascension material, I pretty much used all of my dream solvent to get 18 of these things, these ashen hearts, which again will allow us to get our ITTO up to max talent level by crowning him. Now the thing to remember about Arataki ITTO is that he is a very expensive character. He is a bundle deal. You're going to want to have other Geo characters built up and ready to go alongside him, especially Goro. So I had to get certain things for Goro as well. I got his character ascension material. I got 15 of those, so that is enough to get us to level 70. And pretty much everything else he'll need is here. We have our Topaz gems for him as well. And how could I ever forget about our Spectre pieces? We have so many of these things as well on account of the ley lines that we did. And oh my goodness, please, I don't need to ever fight these things again. Please tell me that, MiHoYo. They are pretty annoying to deal with, especially when you do not have a ranged character on you at the moment. If you are a melee character, you have to wait for them to descend. It's just a hassle, and it looks like we have more than enough, thankfully. Now, in regards to our general party setup, we of course are going to have our core, which is going to be the former god here, Zhongli, followed by Albedo, who is just going to be here pushing Zhongli even further. Albedo in particular got some pretty neat upgrades here with the latest patch, as his new weapon, the Cinnabar Spindle, is immaculate. We got it up to refinement rank 5 and level 90, and it is just so damn good on him. Not to mention that he is of course also going to benefit from the Husk set. That is definitely his best artifact set right now. And between all that he is able to do for himself and what Goro is going to be able to provide to the entire team, his defense stat is going to be cracked. Now, in terms of Goro, who I have a placeholder for in the form of Amber, I believe we are going to be going with the Archaic Petra set, which is going to bring his geo damage bonus up. We don't really care about that. I'm not here for damage from this guy. It's going to be nice, but it's not too important. What we are focusing on is going to be that 4-piece set, which is going to make our crystallized reactions provide a buff to our characters, which is going to be 35% of damage, which is spectacular because his talent allows him to draw in these particles. These crystallized reactions, these shards, are going to be drawn into our characters, so that is going to be a consistent 35% damage bonus for everyone anytime he is using his talents and anytime he is going to be using his burst. And what I like about the ITTO teams is that they are able to pretty much use all of the good Geo artifact sets, because on Zhongli, I'm actually going to be using Tenacity of the Millilith. I want his HP to be as high as possible because we want his pillars to be as strong as possible. We want his meteors to be strong. It's just going to be a great thing. We have Staff of Fulfillment on him as well. Zhongli he has been for a very long time been built out. He's level 90, he's doing his own thing. We are now taking him and leading him, or allowing him to lead the new generation of Geo characters. Now, in terms of weapons for Goro, I am going to be mostly using the Favonius Warbow. I have this thing at refinement 5. I actually have multiple of these things, plenty of these things. We are going to be using this thing because it is going to be giving us that energy recharge. We want to have Goro's burst up as much as possible because that is going to be a major buff with 4 Geo characters on the team. Not to mention, if we are going for ITTO C6, I'd like to think that we should be getting a Goro C6 as well, so the buffs are even greater. And by landing crits, we will be able to generate additional particles for ourselves. And at refinement 5, that is a guaranteed chance, so you don't even have to worry about it. That is going to allow him to be a battery for the team, which is going to allow ITTO to remain in his burst form as much as possible. I don't really have intentions of bringing this thing up to level 90 because I don't think it's really necessary. 80 isn't enough for me right now. But now to take a look at what exactly we are specifically going to be putting on ITTO in regards to artifacts, we of course have this Husk set, which is everything. It is going to be so damn good. It is actually going to propel him to such a level that I am not even prepared for what we're going to see, especially at a C6, at a potential refinement 5. It is just going to be insane. At Triple Crown, this is going to be one hell of a character, I promise you. But anyways, after just thousands upon thousands of resin spent, I mean, this is well beyond 5,000 resin. I actually stopped counting. I was counting in the beginning and I spent a whole lot. What took the longest by far was getting his Geo Goblet. Oh my goodness, that Geo Goblet killed me. It took so long, and when I got it, I actually screamed out loud because it took so damn long. But let's look at what we have right now. Specifically, I'm intending on using this flower on him, which is going to give us a crit rate of 10.9%, a defense stat, which is nice, that's percentile defense, energy recharge, so again, we want to have our burst up as much as possible. We got that attack roll. It doesn't really matter. Nothing rolled into that, thankfully, so it stayed at a 14, so it's negligible anyways. In terms of our feather, we have a crazy roll. Like, we went heavily into defense stat here. We did get a bit of HP, but it wasn't too much. I think it was 1 roll or something. A bit of crit rate, which is not going to be bad at all. We actually do want a bit of crit rate on this guy because his crit damage is going to be insane on its own. I mean, at C6, we get a 70% crit damage increase to our charge attacks, which is just asinine all on its own. But then we have his signature weapon, which is going to also be crit damage. And then there's the benefits from Goro. It is just so much crit damage going on here. So crit rate is going to actually be pretty important. And what's nice is that his ascension stat that upgrades is actually crit rate, so we don't have to go all too heavily, but I am actually prepared to build him out to as close to 100% crit rate as possible. But that is an alternative build. I'll have to see what works out better for him in the long run. But yeah, a lot of defense percentage here. Defense is very important to him. It's more important to him than attack by far. Anyone that is going to be using this Husk set definitely is going to be that way. And I mean, we already get a 2-piece benefit, which is going to be that additional 30%, which is major. Moving on to his sands. All right, this is the locale where I feel I didn't get the craziest stuff. Like, I got a good amount of defense rolls here, but nothing was like wowing me to such an egregious extent, but it was good enough. So this is going to be the one that we're going to be using on him. So of course we want to have defense percentage. That is very important. And let me lock this right now while I'm here. Energy recharge again, which is going to propel us even further in regards to keeping our burst up once more. Crit rate. I need that crit rate. I think that crit rate is very important on him. So anything that has crit rate, I am lenient towards. I may actually skew things a bit in its favor. HP percentage, we don't really need it. I mean, we would have been better off with crit damage, of course, just pushing it even further to that crazy extent. But HP is not bad because it is going to help out his little bull buddy and allow it to stick around for longer. I'm not sure how reliable it's going to be in the sense that we need HP. I would never actually intentionally go for HP on him, but you know, that extra bit is not going to be bad at all. I don't mind it because it actually does go into something. And if nothing else, that will help Noelle if we end up putting these artifacts on her instead, because we're probably not going to have Noelle and ITTO on the same team. They kind of fulfill that role of main DPS, and you don't want them to step on one another's toes, especially because they are going to be using the same artifact set, so you don't want to have to stretch your resources that much. Now here is the infamous Geo Damage Goblet. I am in love with this thing simply because it went into defense rolls so heavily. Like, I got a 27% on the defense with an additional 44 points of defense. The elemental mastery we're not worried about, we don't really care for, but it's not bad. I mean, I would have loved crit rate, but I will take this because it took so long to get this. I mean, I didn't even get a Geo Damage Goblet throughout all of my goblets here for this set. Like, just looking through all of these, none of these are Geo Damage, none. Look how many. And I mean, I deleted a good amount, and all of these, not a single one is Geo Damage. This is the only one I received, and it ended up being this good, which I'm very, very grateful for. And then lastly, in regards to circlets, I'm not sure if I want to actually have an onset circlet for him. This is typically where I shift things because I do have some pretty good circlets that are pretty universal in regards to good stats, but here we go. We have a crit damage one with additional crit rate, a bit of defense. We don't care for that attack stat. We don't care for that elemental mastery, but hey, it's one of the few crit damage ones that I was able to get that, you know, was decent, so I keep it. Then we have this crit rate, which is more important, of course, for ITTO because we want to have him, again, hitting those crits, getting that crazy crit damage off as much as possible. And this did have a bit of a dip into crit damage, a touch into attack, a touch into HP. We don't really care for those, but it did skew heavily in the favor of defense, which has been just such a blessing. I am very grateful for. So if we wanted to keep things on set, we could do so. And yeah, equipping the skeletal hat, we look like that. Now, if I am to keep his circlet on set, then I would favor a different goblet entirely. We would then instead be using a new Geo Goblet that I recently built up and was very, very happy with. I mean, this thing came out pretty damn nicely. This to me is a god effect, no doubt. This is incredible. This is Geo Damage on the Blizzard Slayer set. However, we have a 13.6% crit rate. We have a 19.4% crit damage. We have 7.3% defense and a bit of HP to keep that bull looking nice and beefy. I love this thing. Oh my goodness. So switching this, we now look like this in regards to our artifacts. So we got a 72.7% addition to our crit rate. And with ITTO's inherent level 90 crit rate addition, that is going to be around like 90 something, 90 plus crit rate on top of what is going to be an astronomical crit damage. Like truly, I don't really even need to invest into crit damage. Whatever we get, that 25% is a bonus onto everything that we're already gonna have between his weapon, between his constellations, between these other characters. It's going to just be insane. Now we of course have a 46.6% crit damage bonus from our goblet, but man, that is going to be improved even further by this artifact set, which at maximum is going to be 24 additional % onto that. Think about our Goro again, who is going to be beefing up not only our defense stat, but our geo damage bonus as well. This just synergizes so incredibly. Now, if I were to actually not use this goblet and use the one that I actually got from the Husk set, then we would actually end up using this circlet. So this is one of my go-to circlets that I use pretty much on any character that is a main DPS. This is major for our crit rate, and thankfully it doesn't have attack rolls, so I don't really even have to think about that. But if you look at it, that crit damage here is 34.2%, so that is a lot. It also has that energy recharge, which you can keep talking about, HP %, which we don't really mind at all, but it's really damn good. And I have a good number of good circlets, thankfully, that I can throw on him. And interestingly enough, if we ever manage to get, and this is future speak, this is future talk, if we ever manage to get enough crit rate from our other artifacts without needing to go so heavily into our crown here for whatever reason, I don't know what kind of build I may end up dealing with, we can put this on, which is going to be additional crit damage, and as you can see, defense stat is there, additional crit rate is there, energy recharge is there. So the option is available to us. Perhaps if there is another character down the line which is able to boost up our crit rate without us needing a crown, this is waiting for us. But overall, I am very, very satisfied with how our artifact rolls have gone. It took a very long time. This was an arduous battle for sure. I ended up getting Kokomi inadvertently pretty high up in regards to her artifacts as well. And I think that I did spend a bit of Mora and resources on getting her artifacts good. And that's mostly because it made going through the domain a bit easier, simply because she was able to deal damage while healing. And I definitely would not have been able to farm that domain as efficiently as I did without Kokomi. So despite all the bad sentiments towards that character, she did the damn thing. These wolves and their ability to bypass your defenses and deal damage, it's definitely a harrowing thing to deal with. It makes healers have more of a reason to exist in my eyes. But yeah, as you can tell, I am very prepared for ITTO. I'm very prepared for all that is to come from him. The only thing I'm not prepared for is to see his damage numbers. I mean, I am kind of really excited, really nervous, not in a bad sense, but like anxious even, to see what he is capable of with all the preparations in mind. I mean, to be fair, any team with Zhongli, period, is just going to steamroll the game. It's going to make things kind of trivializing everything. It's going to trivialize everything you have to ever deal with. And if ITTO is dealing the crazy mega big PP damage that we expect, then man, we are in for some crazy fun. But that's just about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully your ITTO preparations have been going well as well if you intend to pick him up, and if they haven't, well, hopefully they turn around for you eventually in regards to his artifacts, which I imagine is going to be the problem for most people. And I hope you can look forward to seeing what our ITTO is actually capable of when we do pick him up. Our next video is going to be our rolls with him, throwing everything on him and testing him out just a bit. And you can definitely expect a guide to follow soon after. I actually held off on the Albedo one because so much is coming for him. I want to have Goro in his back pocket if I'm going to make a guide for him as well. I feel it's only fair, it's only makes sense considering that is what most people are going to be able to work with, the new assets available to them and all that. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the journey, be sure to subscribe to WhaleStat with notifications on. I have been your host, Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.